Regarding the 2024 City of Norman budget. Mr. Francisco.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the committee and council members. We have a few things to talk about related to the budget, a few things we've talked about that kind of were loose ends. First, there was a discussion last meeting about, in particular, Councilmember Holman asked about the Bed Bath & Beyond national bankruptcy, and it led to a larger discussion about the retail environment. I actually asked our retail coordinator, Sarah Kaplan, if she could be at this meeting, but she's out of town, I believe, for spring break. But I would let council know that she is on a panel of the Oklahoma Municipal League on next Friday on that topic, kind of the retail environment. And so if you want to get signed up for that, we are members of the OML, so we get a discounted rate and all of that. I believe it's at the Embassy Suites. So just letting you know that that's coming up. We also, at last meeting, discussed the requests from the outside agencies that have requested additional support from the general fund. We gave out information on the historic, or at least last 2 or 3 fiscal years, general fund allocations to those agencies. The agencies that had requested an increase for fiscal year ending '24 were invited to attend, but none of them did. So we just needed direction from council finally on if you wanted to grant those additional requests. One is from the Performing Arts Studio for their hostessing services at the Santa Fe Depot, an increase of $2,200, and then an increase of $3,000 from the Historical Museum, and an increase of $60,000, which is about doubling the support of the general fund to the Firehouse Arts Center. And I believe that there is a representative here from the Firehouse Arts Center if you wanted to pose any questions to those individuals. But just if you could, just kind of thumbs up, thumbs down on if you wanted to include those increased amounts in the city manager's proposed general fund budget for fiscal year '24.
And that was 2,200 to,
The Performing Arts Studio, who is basically, they run the Santa Fe Depot.
okay.
Open up for the trained travelers and that sort of thing.
I think,
Oh, sorry.
are you
Might be
gonna,
asking the same question.
well, since he's here, I was gonna let the Firehouse Art Director.
Okay, and is that the only one you want to consider, or you want to consider all?
I'm for all of them, because I know it's not really a huge slice of the budget at all. So, and I know that these institutions, like Moore Lindsay House and others, are pretty reputable, so.
Those are
um,
very small
Yeah.
increases that they're asking for, so yeah.
Well, double's not really small, but,
Well, yeah, I mean, the other two, the $2,200 and $3,000, but the other one being $60,000,
Yeah,
so.
and he's here.
and he's here to talk about it.
But I'm fine with those, the other ones as well.
Well, let's talk about the firehouse. Sir, would you address us and give me your name and,
Yeah. My name is Andy
If you
Couch.
could come up to the table,
Yeah.
just so the
Yeah,
mic will
okay.
pick you up.
please?
Yeah. My name is Andy Couch. I'm the new executive director and curator at the Firehouse Arts Center. I just started in September. I've been back in Casper, Wyoming, running the Nicolason Art Museum. I started my career here in Norman. I graduated with an art history degree in 2012. Worked at the Fred Jones Jr. So I'm very happy to be back home. I've been gone for about 10 years. So happy to be a part of the community. Some of the request here in our report, why we've asked for double is the cut to the arts in terms of grant funds received, especially without those of employee retention, PPP, all of those things. But there's also a lot of opportunity for us. We are really looking forward to making up some of those PPP funds that we received in additional granting opportunities. So there's several foundations that the Firehouse Arts Center has not asked or built a relationship with that I do think that we can recover from some of that. But the needs in terms of supporting the amount of attendance that we can, I think we can do a lot better job with a little bit more.
I saw an email from you or the organization that listed the new ideas that you're trying to bring about for adults and for children.
That's right. So we have brought back our ceramics program that has been down for the past 3.5 years. We also have received a new clay mixer from USAO
Oh.
in Chickasha.
Yeah.
Those are about $12,000 a piece, if you guys don't know that. So we just need to repair a part, which will be less than $1,000. But that'll be a revenue generating idea for Norman really having their own place to buy clay. And
Are you
so,
gonna use local clays, the laterite clay here?
yeah, we have a clay recipe
Good.
that we'll be mixing. So really excited about that. Mammoth Clay in Oklahoma City is going to be helping that repair cost for us, and yeah.
Yeah.
So real excited to bring that back, and then some of the other organizations here we're going to be partnering with. I know Oscillator Press downtown. They have a wonderful press there. The owners are going to become faculty for us this summer, and so we'll also be teaching printmaking classes in the community. So we're doing quite a bit to really spread out that opportunity.
Oh, that's wonderful. And that, my daughter went to USAO, like youngest
Awesome.
girl. So she's an artist, and so that, I'm familiar with their program. I'm glad they're sharing with us.
Yep.
It's neat. Yes, sir.
Would you expect this to be, like, you're asking for an increase of this amount this year?
Mm-hmm.
Would you be expecting you would ask for that same increase next year, or go back to what they had been receiving before, depending on grants or whatever?
I would hope that that it would continue to be this every year, is our hope. But I am gonna do my best to bring in new foundations to the firehouse and individual donors. We currently haven't had a fundraiser I don't think since Chocolate Fest or maybe Midsummer's. So I get asked almost every week, are you gonna bring this back as the new guy? And so there's a lot of community members who have questions about that and expect me to bring back things that they enjoyed. So we're looking into that, but also with just the connections we have, I definitely think we need to try to do our own fundraiser at least. I think we'll get some revenue off that.
Well, Firehouse has been very quiet, at least for the last few years. And it's, I think, personally think it's an asset to the city to have that. We need that. Just as part of our discourse, so.
Yeah, would you anticipate an effort to, maybe not wean off of city funds completely? Because I think it's a good thing the city contributes to this type of thing, but $120,000 is a lot of money. I mean, it's not a lot in our whole city budget, but
It's a lot of-
there's a lot of things that have needs.
Right.
And so,
Excuse me.
you mentioned some of the programs you're bringing back. Are there other specific plans you have for, like, capital improvements, other things that are needed at the building or anything
Right.
like that? We own the building. don't
Yes,
we?
you do. Yeah. So we have created a facility report since I got here on problems with the building. And every month we send that report into Parks and Rec. And they've been really great about the upkeep. We had leaks all over that building when I got there. The city got us a new roof, thanks to hail damage, some insurance for that. And it should have been done, I mean, years ago, but I just don't think, maybe we were too quiet. And, you know, a lot of the things, doors not closing, some of our heater was also not working or functioning properly. And they've been on top of it and really, you know, making an effort to make it a good and safe place. So, but yeah, to answer your question about programs, we are going to be doing a lot more in addition to bringing back ceramics and creating printmaking, hopefully a fundraiser as well. We haven't had exhibits in an awful long time. We have greatly increased our membership and attendance already this year by bringing those exhibitions back. So we plan to have some really relevant exhibitions and community partnerships that'll help serve the community.
Would it be your belief that the Firehouse Arts Center generates more than 120,000 in whatever economic impact to the city of Norman, benefit to the city of Norman?
More so, yeah. I definitely would think more so than that amount.
Thank you very much.
Sir, do you have any programs aimed at veterans?
Yeah, yeah.
Therapeutic programs?
I'm very glad you asked. So Doug Elder, the former executive director here at the Firehouse, was a veteran. And that was a very important program that he ran. We have just recently met a painter who works at Tinker Air Force Base in Oklahoma City, who's going to be helping us lead our new veterans program. So one of the biggest problems and hurdles that we had during the pandemic and still today was the restrictions in working with veterans at the Vet Center. And so I would like to open it up to all veterans. In Wyoming, we led a course called Outside the Lines. And so it was really great. We had a sponsor that would provide a monthly meal for veterans in the museum. And then we had an instructor that also met, the expectations of that class and teaching veterans. AT&T in the past has supported the Firehouse with $15,000 for our veterans program. So my goal is to get a barbecue going in the park with the city of Norman, in Lions Park there, in honor of veterans, and to bring that program back to make it a little bigger. Another thing we're doing for that age group right now, when I was in school at OU, I'd volunteer on Sundays at the Rivermont Retirement Community to teach drawing and watercolors there for their senior living. We've started a program with them. So it's kind of a piece of our outreach that we want to be able to do to serve that community. But some of them are veterans that are in there as well. And so that's something that's kind of exciting that we're looking forward to teaching.
Thank you.
Yeah, welcome.
Councilman?
In line with that, what about demographics that you don't usually see that you want to see?
Thank you. Yeah. One really cool partnership that I was able to create in the last 2 years was with the University of Guadalajara in Puerto Vallarta, Mexico. So I go down there once a year to teach museum studies for them and talk about my experiences, career paths that are available for art-seeking, students. And in exchange, they've been doing exhibits and murals for me as part of their faculty. And so we have 2 artists that are going to be coming up in September this year. And we've already coordinated with Parks and Rec. We're going to be showing Coco in the park for Day of the Dead.
Okay.
So there'll be a Dia de los Muertos festival there for that. So that's definitely a big mission of mine. In past occupations, I definitely have worked with several different tribes, Kiowa, Osage, Cherokee, Chickasaw. And so we'll definitely be working with them to see how we can get their art, cultural experiences and traditions to the Firehouse in Lions Park.
One of the things, I'm
I
sorry.
just have one more.
Sure.
So ADA community,
Mm-hmm.
because we do have artists that are confined,
Yep.
and they find it hard to get into shows for that reason.
Yep. We do have our Healing Studio show that I'm keeping on the schedule. That'll be every January. Our Healing Studio is actually full right now. I think we have 14 participants. That's really all we can fit in the class because some of them are visually impaired and need more space to create in than others. But yeah, maybe when we have enough money to expand or something, we'd be able to serve that need more.
We would need to know about that because there may be ways that we can facilitate that with landholders or however it goes. One of the interests of mine would be for those of us that are amateur artists to be able to display or show or do whatever we want to do. And have a place, I'd love it in the middle of downtown. I don't
Yeah.
know if that'll ever happen. Where the artists can actually do their work and you can watch them do that and you can see what they're doing and they can sell stuff.
Yep.
And have it more like a collective than anything else where they're doing the sales.
Yeah, we unfortunately haven't been doing, I don't have any revenue here from workshops.
Yeah.
That's something that does really well in my line of work. when you're able to bring in an artist from a different culture to talk about their traditions and how they might make, the art that they do. Those kind of experiences tend to really help out, the institution in raising funds. One that we're going to be working on, still been talking to Mo Bettas.
Oh,
I don't
yeah?
know if anyone has been there. Their corporate office has been considering sponsoring us for a Hawaiian exhibit we're having this summer.
How cool.
It'll be really neat. We have a community member here that has an entire Polynesian Hawaiian collection. So that tiki culture, pop culture, Hawaiian artists that contribute to that, we'll be displaying that. It'll be pretty exciting. But one of the sculptors is in Oahu, and his name is Gecko. We would really like to have him here, but there's a lot of cost behind that. But I sure know we would fill up that workshop having that experience.
Can I ask?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so for several years, this is general fund, but for several years, we had in the capital budget some matching funds for the capital campaign that you all had in place to try to expand. Have you all just done away with that? Because we took the money out of the capital budget, but
So from my understanding, we had 120,000 earmarked for capital through Parks and Rec in that office. But what I'm hearing now is there's a Norman Forward 2 is happening, maybe. So, yeah.
For sure.
What I'm hearing is some of those funds are being used for a new project. So we had done a campaign, to get some of those, and I think my board members' eyes were a little bit bigger than their stomachs at some of those gifts, but they're still really wanting to try, and that's something that I have challenged us to do, is for our board to get really involved on that.
second question is about the ARPA money.
Say that again?
American Rescue Plan Act.
Yes.
Federal money.
Yeah.
I know the council appropriated about $100,000 of that for arts agencies that went through the Arts Council, but I'm assuming you got some of that.
Yes, we did.
And how did you use it?
So in that, it's not only supports our operations, but all of our programs. So those funds were utilized to really keep where revenue lacked. So when people weren't meeting in person, we go from, maybe 120,000 down to 60,000 in class revenue because they weren't having classes in person. And then some of that goes to online teaching. So they made a lot of video content, as everyone did, to kind of support that. One of our studios, I think, became more of a filming room, to get stuff out online. But this money, I think, would kind of recoup some of that revenue that we were planning on having for classes. Another challenge right now is we have, in the pandemic, Oklahoma Contemporary was built in Oklahoma City. And so it's definitely competition for hands-on making. Some of our faculty teach there and teach here. But anything north of 240, I don't know if we'll be seen near as much. And there's plenty of competition and plenty of experiences, but it's really about class size. So I think 12 is really the max we have for a class.
That's huge.
And that's why, our classes fill up so quick. I got to deal with a lot of angry artists wanting to get in the next class. But it's a good problem to have, I guess.
Yes, sir.
So this, this total 120 doesn't include
Does not.
the maintenance of the building.
No, it does not.
And utilities that we're paying there. What would be the total of our contribution as the city government to?
The
Including
existing
this.
facility maintenance varies year by year, but just this is the operational support. But I'm gonna say the utilities average somewhere around $10,000 a year.
That's what I would say.
That's less than I thought. I would have thought, yeah, okay.
We had 74,166 budgeted in support for this year. That's maintenance and supply, or
Maintenance and
services and
supplies.
maintenance.
And utilities.
Yeah, including utilities.
And we don't charge a rent specifically to, okay.
Thank God.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. What's you guys' pleasure? We should give Anthony some direction.
I mean, I'm good with it. You got a card?
Yeah, I have a card.
I mean, I'm comfortable moving forward with that.
Let's go.
My only like little bit of apprehension is it being a potentially continuing cost.
Blossoming
Not a
problem.
one-time cost, but
I
every year
think,
the budget changes, and so.
I think we'll have definitely things to show for that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, let us help you do that and it brings down our costs and those things that we can do to promote, those things that we can do to just friends of ours. If you're looking for ideas, I mean, this place is never out of ideas, a way to spend money, so.
Yeah.
That's true.
I've been really impressed with just working with Parks and Rec. I've worked in a lot of different cities in this kind of position, and it's been awesome. So I really appreciate that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, thank you, Andy.
Yeah. Thank you, guys.
Okay, so next, I am going to give you all a sort of a little glance into the budget preparation world that we have been in for the last few months at the administrative level. And as we talked about last meeting, the departments submit requests for expanded programs and for additional personnel, and for funds that would come from the city's capital sales tax that goes for that allocation that you'll recall about 27% of the capital sales tax by formula goes to capital outlay items, equipment things, computers, vehicles, that sort of thing. And so all of those requests are considered at a department head retreat that we had on about 2 weeks ago at the Embassy Suites. But what I wanted you to see is this is the requests for the critical vehicle replacements. And our fleet maintenance division does these rankings of the city's fleet. These are the vehicles that they judge to be better replaced than maintained. And they have a very scientific formula for doing these rankings that Sean O'Leary might fill in the blanks on. You know, I gave you kind of the Reader's Digest summary of how that's done. But as you see, just in the general governmental area, there's $10.2 million of vehicles that are critically needed to be replaced. You'll recall that we had a fleet study some years ago that said that we should be spending about $6 million a year replacing vehicles. Our full allocation of that 27% for capital outlay is about $4 million, okay? And that's for everything. We, as the management team, usually allocate about half of that $4 million toward fleet replacements. With the cumulative list that you see here on the far right, you see how far down the list $2 million will get. And it's not very far. Again, this is just the critical needs. Now, the first two ranked vehicles that you see there are replacements for police patrol vehicles, cruisers, if you will. And of course, a guy like myself or Sean, who has been funding police vehicles for a lot of years, my head blew up a little bit when I saw, $82,000 for a single police cruiser. That, I'm old enough that I can remember when a police cruiser with all the fancy suspension systems and the big engine and all of that was $18,000. So when I'm seeing $82,000 for a single police vehicle, I'm, oh my God. But that's what it is.
And the new ones
Okay.
are like less quality. They're not as good as the Crown Victorias, at least the feedback I've heard about. Is that they cost more and they're not as good.
Yeah. Okay, so the subject, though, that we discussed at the management team retreat was basically, again, where the mayor had come up with the idea of replacing the police vehicles with seizure funds, that clearly qualifies for the expenditure of seizure funds. We know that we have about $1.4 million of available funds in the Seizures and Restitution Fund. And my granddaughter is listening, and she's been working on her division. So 1.4 million divided by 82,800 will get you about 17 police vehicles. And that would get us down the list a bit more. And so again, we would repose the question to the Finance Committee is if you would like us to pose in the general fund capital budget that we use seizure money for the replacement of police vehicles. And then just follow the list along with the rankings as they are here for the rest of the fleet.
Stephen, you want to speak to that?
Well, I've thought a lot about the existing seizure fund. One thing I've thought about is potentially refunding the general fund with what we spent before. Now that we know more about the seizure fund and what it can be used for. And if we were to use it for something like vehicles, I would probably suggest that we look at the top ones altogether, not just police. Because I think public works is a matter of public
Has to
safety.
be used for the police.
Well, we found out that we can use it for anything we want to. Legal wouldn't recommend, but the law specifically states the city can do whatever we want with it.
She's in here somewhere.
Hiding behind a big chair. Yeah, I mean, I think we would recommend they be used for police purposes, law enforcement purposes, just because depending on the source of the funds, the direction is clear or less clear. But I think if you do that, you open up the door to have more general fund funding for the other parts or other departments on that list.
So you recommend that we just use those seizure funds to buy vehicles as they come down the list?
Law enforcement vehicles.
Law
Yeah, and
enforcement.
that would then
Okay.
free up your other money to buy the other vehicles.
All right.
It's just a cleaner way to document that.
But legally, we could use it for anything.
Yeah, legally, I think there's less restrictions on the money, which is practically speaking, that's always been the advice is it's cleaner if you use it for law enforcement purposes.
Okay. I mean, I would, if we were gonna, if I was gonna support spending those funds, I would prefer if it was diversified a little bit and not just all. I know that that may come from the police department, but to get away from that perception that we're collecting money so that we can then use it to buy equipment for the agency collecting it, if we were to use it for maybe some of those needs, but also some of these other needs, that could help address that perspective.
I agree to a point. The point, I'd rather have it free and clear, where we're just doing cops with cop money. I understand the perception.
Sure.
And it doesn't have as much weight with me. What it has is getting 17 vehicles off this list of however many Mike's got on here. That would really help. Yes, 128. And so, I mean, it's a dent, but it's a good dent. And looking at some of these vehicles being 2008, 2011,
That's bad.
that's bad. It just, but it does open up the possibility that you could buy one on the salvage market and you could have your own Crown Vic if you wanted to. So.
Yeah,
it,
2007 is the oldest one I see on here.
What,
as
I was
far as
trying to look,
police.
what was the newest one that we're replacing, if anybody knows, without me trying to go cross-eyed looking at this
Mike.
thing? I don't see anything, maybe 2014 is the highest I saw so far. What is that, 2014? Is that fire truck? I'm sure it's been used pretty good.
Oh, yeah.
2016,
There's a
what's the big text utility?
2015 park maintenance mower.
What is this, line number 120, what's a big text X utility? 2016. and that is $13,000. Not much. Is that just some
What
small
line was that?
20 or
116.
21 or 120? No, where'd it go?
116.
121.
Sorry, I have my finger on. Like I said, I'm kind of going cross-eyed looking at this thing.
Trailer,
Oh, it's just trailer. Okay.
T, 188T.
It is interesting.
I mean, it's
how-
not much money anyway. I'm just looking at ages of
It is
stuff.
interesting how some of these are, 2014 and 15 and having to be replaced. And
Yeah, well-
there's 2007 Crowns Victorias that are still running that are.
It's all dependent on how they were used and how much they were used and abused and whatnot.
A hailstorm abused.
Yeah, that could be
used
that too.
Pretty badly.
You never know. They're like when you get into these police cars, that's why you can get them. Sometimes some cities keep them for very few years and just swap them out for new ones. And that's why you get grandma driving down the road in her Charger or whatever with a light on it.
Councilmember, did you have anything you wanted to add?
I mean, I'm probably gonna be the lone one here saying no to seizure funds.
Okay.
That's about it.
Well, we got to give Anthony direction on how he pulls those out.
Only other apprehension too, I guess, is that we did approve a regular yearly budget for the police department last June. And then in November, we could have used Caesar funds. We did the general fund, but we allocated over $1 million more to the police department to buy all that list of equipment. And then we would be spending another $1 million plus in the same fiscal year than what we approved in the yearly budget. So, are other departments getting that type of budget increase for all the things they need? And is it equitable from that standpoint? So that's why I'd be hesitant to use all of it on, if I were gonna support using these funds, spending it all on police cars when there are so many needs, which is why I thought about, well, maybe we just refund the general fund from what we spent, and then we get some police
Sort of
cars.
back out again.
Yeah.
And I don't think we could do that. It was what I understood last time from legal.
I haven't considered that question. Where you made the decision, you allocated the funds from general fund balance, and where we've moved ahead with purchasing that equipment, I don't know that you could repurchase the same equipment. I know that you could, transfer the seizure money to the general fund and use it for general governmental purposes.
Just
but it would not be
refunding,
for that same
refunding the
equipment.
general fund for what we're spending on all the equipment stuff and the Bearcat.
My thing is that if they're gonna use this money ever, police cruisers is about the least controversial way that you could dip out of it. And you can just say, it's just vehicles, because on this next thing, if they wanna use that for this, I guarantee there's gonna be a lot of people freaking out about this next thing we're gonna talk about.
We've been
But
hearing from
it's a cop car, that's what I'm saying, it's nothing, that is the least, if you're gonna ever use it, it's one of the least things that you could, just a cruiser.
I
You're
don't
not,
disagree
without
with
getting
that.
static from people up in arms, like, yes, we need to have reliable vehicles for cops, and this money was dedicated for that, and it's not being used for any other programs or anything, it's just to have our people have reliable vehicles while they're keeping the city safe. If you sell it like that, I don't know how much headache, there's always gonna be somebody kicking and screaming, no matter what, but I mean, it's just doing the right thing and just getting it done. And it doesn't always matter how everybody feels about it, it's the right thing. And it's not controversial for cop cars. That's the way I feel about it. There's plenty of other reasons that people could argue and fight, and I get it, and there's legitimate reasons. I just don't know for just regular vehicle use. Seems like our least way to use that money without it being kicking and screaming through the city.
Okay.
I don't think they're controversial either, as far as buying police cars. I just think, again, it's the funding source that's the point of controversy.
Understood. And
So, I mean, I'm not sure how I feel about at this meeting spending all of this forfeiture funds on police cars, but I mean, I'm for the whole council having the opportunity
Yeah, that's
to
what I said.
and decide.
Yeah, and just remember that the discussion here is about direction to the city manager's budget, which will come back to the council. So if you wanted to, the city manager's budget would be a little bit further down this list because you used the seizure money. But if you then wanted to, when council considers the budget finally, not use the seizure money, you can make that decision.
Go forward in that direction.
I'm for, yeah, the whole council
fine
having
with
the
that.
opportunity to.
And that's basically it, just whatever it takes to get us to have everybody around discussing it to see which direction we actually are gonna go.
Okay.
That's what I was.
Yes, please.
Thank you. Okay, so now you're on to your next item, which I'll turn it over to your discussion about the flock cameras.
Let's go.
Number 2, continued
This one
discussion
sounds like this
regarding
one,
flock
Mark.
safety camera solutions for the community.
Sounds like this one might be fun.
Are you gonna show us a picture? Or we got pictures?
Come on in. How are you, sir?
Doing good.
How you gonna sell this one?
How am I gonna sell this?
You know this one's gonna.
So, this is an easy, I'm not a salesman, right? But this is something that's pretty easy for me because this benefits our victims of crime. Right, this provides a solid benefit for those who have been victimized by criminal activity by allowing us to investigate those things.
Big brother the hell out of us. What are you talking about?
Sorry. What are you talking about?
If you see how the system works, it's not really Big Brother. So, what we're looking to do is we want to put 10 cameras up in the city to their license plate readers. They're called LPRs. And what license plate readers do is they take pictures of backs of cars. So they're not like a motion picture camera that is continuously recording. They just simply take photographs of cars as they drive by. So what we get is the back of a car so we can see the tag, if there's any identifying bumper stickers, or if the window's broken. Those are different types of things that the camera picks up. So the flock system, what that does is it takes the pictures and it stores it in the cloud in their server system, and it's inaccessible to anybody. So nobody can get that data except for us, right? So if we are doing an investigation and we find a guy has went down the street and he took packages off 12 porches, right? So we have a Ring doorbell camera that's caught a vehicle, say a blue pickup, right? So we can take that description of the blue pickup, we can put it into the Flock database, and it will come up with vehicles that came through that area that were blue pickups, and here's the tag information. That's the only information that Flock has, right? They don't have who owns the car, they don't know who's in the car. It doesn't have any kind of personal identifiable information in it. It doesn't take pictures of people. It's only there to give you a lead, right? And so that allows us to actually go and investigate how those burglaries or how those larcenies actually did occur. Right now, we have a large number of, that's one of our biggest crimes, right? Larcenies and burglaries are some of our biggest crimes. Well, very few of those get investigated because we simply don't have any leads. We don't have anything to go on in order to investigate those. And so this will give us a better opportunity to help the victims of crime when they've been victimized. The second benefit of the system is it allows us to find wanted people, because the camera system's designed to have it's called a hot list. So if you have a stolen car from your agency, you can put it into the system and it'll alert you when that car drives by. It also helps with missing persons. So if my elderly uncle goes missing, well, we can put his camera, we can put his tag into the system and we can see if he's driven by any of these cameras. So that kind of gives us somewhere to start to look for him.
I think you should start with that.
They're both very important to me.
I know, but when you're selling it to the department for interrupting, I think that is a good way to start the conversation, is when you're using it.
True.
Get it on that. That is more, this is gonna be scary to some people is all I'm saying. Bring it like that.
I certainly
all the
understand
good
the hesitancy, From my perspective, my main job is to ensure people's civil liberties, right? To ensure that people can go about their day not being victimized by other people. right? So that's really what I do. And I believe that this system will help with people's liberties.
Councilmember?
I was reading in other states, they actually directed that it's like 3 minutes or less that they keep all of the footage. It wouldn't be like 30 days for all license plates that don't actually hit.
Okay.
So that way, regular people go into the store or whatever, go into church, doing their thing, aren't like in the cloud.
Okay, so the system that we want has a 30-day rolling. So every 30 days, that footage is gone. So it doesn't stay in any longer than 30 days.
Yeah, I'm still for the limited amount of time for
Okay.
the regular public, like 3 minutes or less, and then it's deletion.
So 3 minutes probably wouldn't give us time to,
If they hit though, right? I mean, like the block is, I was also reading how they have an AI generated system nationwide with everything. It's kind of interesting. But anyways, yeah, I'm
Is that what
for like basically not having people's stuff, if they're not doing anything, their stuff shouldn't be there.
okay?
If it's somebody who's done a thing, they're gonna be a license plate that hits and it's gonna be on the list, right?
So if, for the license plate, but a lot of times we don't have a tag number, so we're looking for a vehicle description in order to get the tag number from. So if we have like if we have a suspect who's in a specific kind of car, then we can look for that car. That gives us a lead on who the suspect might be. But many times if it's over, like 3 minutes wouldn't give us any time to even know the crime occurred in order to even look for the car.
Put it in state law elsewhere, like New Hampshire. So I think it's worth exploring. Just, you know, people are gonna
What
be
state was that
upset.
from, that?
New Hampshire.
New Hampshire, okay.
So, were you done? I'm sorry. Oh, so this could really be helpful for Amber and Silver alerts?
100%.
Oh, I need to know.
Yes, sir.
Definitely has been a criticism I've seen online from some folks that have used it. I guess some municipalities have done it and then discontinued doing it for whatever reason. I guess the old saying about, are we trading freedom for safety? That's some of the response I've heard from people is like, yes, it could help us with this, but what are we giving up in order to make ourselves safer? So I think, the example that was shown last week about the case in Georgia, or the kid getting kidnapped and then finding him within 2 or 3 hours, that's really hard to argue against as far as the upside of it. Yeah. But there is definitely concern about what does it evolve into? It starts as this, and it's only stored X amount of time, and it doesn't show people now, but does the next evolution turn into it getting more and more intrusive and invasive to the point where it is maybe decades from now, but surveillancing the whole city? And if the government says you can't leave because there's another epidemic or something like that, then these cameras are used to make sure you don't leave your house, or you can't leave your street because these cameras are tracking your license plate and you're going to get fined automatically if you disobey the government or something like that. That's maybe a stretch in some cases, but that is how
Plausible, though.
some people do feel that I've heard from about, like, I don't know about this. It seems innocent right now, but
Yeah.
Well, I also know that when we bought my wife's car in 2018, within a week it learned that we normally went to church at a certain time, where we went to church, and it put the directions up there on the navigator. And I'm thinking, how does this?
we're already being tracked.
We're already being tracked.
I'm saying,
There really is no true expectation on the public roads.
Right.
And one of the advantages that I see of it is porch pirates, those kinds of activities that have happened where somebody has some supplementary information to give you, it was a blue pickup in your example, that you could at least look for that. One of the other things I like about this is that you're only on the main thoroughfares that are going through. And so it's not in neighborhoods. But if a neighborhood HOA wanted to buy or rent, or whatever the correct word is, have a contract with Flock to be able to do this, they can do that, and they can make those arrangements, and that would be for there. So those neighborhoods that don't want that kind of surveillance going on, they don't get it. But it's just, to me, it seems to enhance those of us that have security alarm systems and things like that. It just seems to help. I know we've been burglarized at our house, and it didn't take long for the cops to get there, but they were gone. I have no idea what they looked like, or who was in there or doing anything like that. But it did happen. All we got was the end. It would have been nice to have had a clue that, these were, it appeared to me to be kids. That the kids that did this should have been in school, and we could call over to Norman North or Norman and say, where was this kid? There wasn't a clue to do that, though. So, I don't know. I'm a fan of it. I feel the same thing that Councilmember Holman is saying is, does it lead, where's the tail end?
Yeah.
And I don't know that answer.
I would like to see less, I would agree with Councilmember Grant about, I don't know, 3 minutes, but 30 days seems, I mean,
It's everybody's license plate.
if there was a lesser time where it was stored, but would also be reasonable with needing to investigate something.
The thing is, you have no reasonable right to expectation to privacy in public. You don't have any right to that legally or anything, and you are on camera walking around anywhere in this city at all times, almost constantly. Somebody has you on camera somewhere. I get it, but it's different when the government has it.
Well, I've gotten, just over the years, I've had to explain to people so many times that the cameras on our traffic signals are not
That's-
real-time recording
Yeah.
anything,
Yeah.
and that they're just sensors.
Yeah,
But people
that's
all the time like, am I getting, those red light tickets? I'm like, we don't have any red light tickets.
That's my next thing, that you need to, people are gonna say that you're using this, and I don't like that at all when they use traffic, cameras to send tickets and stuff. I think it's a big load of garbage. Will this ever be used for that purpose and to raise revenue?
No.
Okay,
Allowed by state statute.
okay.
That's what I thought too.
Excellent. Well, that
It is allowed some places. I just know that I think it stinks when you get a ticket like, hey, here's you doing, 80 and a 75.
boy, I'd be in trouble.
I know. But they'll just send it to you in the mail.
Yep.
You get them. It exists some places.
Texas and Arizona right now, among other states.
Is that it? Okay. Yeah, I've got them from Texas, I assure you. Like, I didn't even know you were there.
We need to make a decision on whether we want to support this system or not support this system, or bring it to council.
Bring it to council, I'm sure.
Whether to proceed with the council contract.
Okay. Go to council?
Yeah, figure it out.
Yeah.
Yes, please.
Before going to council, I would want to see like some pretty specific and clear like guidelines about how our community will use them if we do go forward with it.
Can we get that, Major?
Wait, so the others that are missing this are just gonna get caught up?
They'll just get caught up. What'll happen is we'll bring it up, I'm hoping, in a study session, and we'll be able to discuss it more. The major will bring more concrete examples of what will happen in Norman. And then,
These are best practices.
We have a policy, we have a policy now that we're making a few tweaks to that. We're ready to go. That shows us how we're gonna use the system, so.
that'd be great to read, not to do your system, but so we understand.
Good. I think the potential for abuse has always been there ever since I've been in law enforcement. We've had information systems that could be abused if they weren't governed, and the system's no different. Right now, we have officers that are driving in police cars that can run people's tags at any time. They can run people's, driver's license information, things we do on normal basis for investigation, for investigative purposes, and so this is kind of an extension of that, right? So we can't randomly search for cars or tags or anything like that without a specific reason to do so. And that reason has to be documented, and it's auditable, so.
Hold on just a second. Madam Clerk?
I just was going to clarify what Major Shattuck, what they have done so far is made a request for next year's budget to purchase these. So your direction is to bring it forward to council now, outside of that budget process? That's just what we need to understand.
I think it would be a good idea for the whole council to discuss
Yes,
it
ma'am.
before
Bring
it's
it
in a
forward
budget, before
to
it's in the
council.
final meeting.
Sooner than later.
And before it goes on the budget,
Study session.
the study session. So we can at least up or down it. Yes, sir.
On that other thing, okay, so right now, you're actually using technology that is more intrusive than this thing, like, cause you have on your cars where they just automatically read tags.
No, we don't
Oh,
have.
we
no,
don't have those, like,
We have
Well,
a couple
we have
cars,
those
we have
in
a
the
couple
state.
cars that have license plate readers,
Yeah.
none that really work in our city.
The new
limits very
insurance thing too, where it scans people.
yeah, so, I mean,
often.
we
The-
already have stuff like that
Correct.
in the city that is in use, that is,
We do.
if you wanna talk about intrusive or anything, that's more intrusive to me than just a camera catching you and you being able to type like a blue truck in this area, and it shows you all the blue trucks in that area. Is that how the AI works?
Right, so if the blue truck came through that area where the camera was at, it would be able to show you that blue
Man,
truck.
if y'all haven't seen some of this AI lately, it'll blow your mind.
So, on that note, I don't know if I understood what you were saying correctly or not, but when an officer is on patrol and they are at a stoplight behind a car, they can run a tag
Right, they can
without a
manually,
warrant
they
or
can
anything
manually
like that.
run the tag and.
And is that documented though, that I ran this, or is it documented on the system that
Yeah,
this tag was
there's a
run
fingerprint-
by
there's
this
a
officer?
fingerprint, Or I guess they call it a fingerprint that tag was ran, yes.
There are some that, like the highway patrol, they just have automatic scanners, don't they, that bring up the information?
You talking about like the on the cars, like APRs or LPRs on the cars? There
Yeah.
are some of those on cars.
Yeah,
yes.
so, I mean, that technology exists.
It does.
I just want to point out that those have been abused and women have been stalked by people misusing those license plate readers. So just want to throw that out there, that the potential for abuse takes many forms.
Law enforcement did this?
I mean, I'll go find you an article and I'll send it.
Sure.
We don't disagree with what you're saying in any way. You know, that's a big part of why we screen so hard when we hire people and we try to hire the best people that we can, because we know that there's potential for abuse in situations
There are
like
folks
that.
that have been disciplined in other places in the country that have, not through LPRs, but just running a tag on the radio. And then when audited, there was no purpose to run that tag. There was no reason. Particularly like you're saying, when the tag was ran and then this person shows up on the doorstep and we go back and track and say, oh, he ran this tag at this date and this time. Those people are gone. They're fired or terminated. But that can be done just from the radio. You don't have to have an LPR to do that.
But anybody, any person that an officer runs a name or a tag on, there is a record of that.
Correct.
Kept it, okay.
All right.
Satisfaction?
Yeah, we got item number 3, discussion regarding monthly review and expenditure reports.
I'll just try to respond to any questions that you have related to the monthly reports that were in your packet. March was a pretty good month for sales tax, which again is reflected in sales. During January, we were up 5.7%.
Yay!
That continues to lag behind our comparative cities in the state, but it's a very good month.
What makes us lag behind? Any prognostications?
Prognostication is that we were so far ahead of everybody else last year that they're kind of catching up to where we were. But that's just
Yeah.
gut feel sort of thing.
There wasn't a real clear explanation for why we were so far ahead of everybody either.
But, okay, we're just looking at the months, last year and I'm sure it's baked in all the time, but we did have some pretty regular, football stuff. Is that catching up? And then with the inflation and those months of like football season, does that contribute to that a lot? Where
Remember,
other-
you're comparing this month last year to this month this year. So it was football season in 2021, it's football season in 2022. So-
I meant overall, did that ever factor in like after pandemic and like OU's kicking back up and we have more people where other people still aren't gathering as much? Does that ever considered in like, cause
It is considered in, but again.
I mean,
it's-
that's a normal constant, but other places had people too, that they were just getting slower to getting back up where Norman was like, let's go OU football.
Yeah, really, a
Like-
better proxy for that is room tax.
Yeah, okay.
And the room tax was substantially ahead of, in the fall of '22 to where it had been in the fall of '21.
Okay,
So,
that's neither here nor there. I was just curious.
21 was a full regular
yes.
season as far as attendance goes. Yeah.
But that's informative. I hadn't thought of that. Any other questions for Mr. Francisco about any of the expenditure reports?
Just that these are, again, the 1.32% year-to-date, that's 1.3% higher than our
Right.
record highs of last year.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Excellent.
I don't see anybody in the 20s like we were last year, this year. We had some months where we were over 20%, like never before seen or heard of. Like, can't even explain how or why. Just pent up demand, I guess.
Well, we'll keep on doing everything we can to spur that. You mentioned that this retail thing that's going on with OML is next Friday, which is tomorrow? Or
No,
next
a
Friday,
week
which
from
is a
tomorrow.
week? Okay.
Are we projecting in the upcoming budget any further returning subsidies to PSST or transit or Norman Forward or?
Pretty much all of the above for various reasons. The public safety sales tax because of the increased cost of fire trucks that are baked into the public safety sales tax fund. The transit fund was really related to the micro transit program that you did this year. And the question would be whether you're gonna continue that or not. So, yes, at this point it does, the projections are that there will be a subsidy to each of those.
They're doing healthy.
Yeah, the
doing
sales
well.
tax for public safety, the sales tax for public transit, the sales tax for Norman Forward are all up. So yes,
But they also have increasing costs.
yes.
Okay.
Any discussion about moving Fire Station 5,
The timing of it,
the timing of it and the funding of it?
the timing of it right now relates to when we would pay off the existing debt for the radio system and for the Emergency Operations Center, which is about 3.5 years from now. But if council wanted to identify some other sources of funding for that, you certainly could.
I'd be interested in doing that.
Absolutely.
I'm not sure exactly how,
It
where we're
would-
gonna steal from
It
somebody.
probably couldn't come from the public safety sales tax. But again, you have some general fund balance in excess of your mandated reserves. If you wanted to use some of that, you could.
That was another, it's not enough to do it, but that was another idea I thought about for the forfeiture funds that we have on hand if we were gonna use them. Advancing that project or putting in a
What's the top cost
deposit
on that?
for it or whatever.
I don't know.
It's a
The cost,
five.
we had projected 3.5 million when we did the public safety sales tax back in 2015.
Yeah.
But the most recent estimate for construction of a fire station is about 6.5.
All right. That's still, I mean, for the money spent, that's not near as much as what I,
Yeah, PSST had 6 million for the EOC. Turned out to be.
Yes,
Just because we had those line breaks, I was curious about our water fund, and it says it's of February 28th. Are we going to see those broken lines in the next committee meeting? Because I'm going to guess when they break, they're what you have to adjust for.
Yeah, there is a budget to replace lines. We have a line maintenance division. It depends on the depth of the line, whether our in-house staff can replace the lines in-house. But we,
The under services and maintenance, would it be that one?
if
on
it,
this?
if it is contracted out, yes.
Okay.
If it is our in-house staff doing it, then it's just salary and benefits, and that's their job today is to go replace this line. But again, the concern with the water fund is ongoing, and our inability to do the capital projects we know that we need to do for meeting the standards that have been placed upon us for drinking water, and to continue to supply water that we know that we need to do, so.
Would it be possible to get what we spent on this recent series of breaks? Or just breaks throughout the month, just to kind of understand, especially for our community, what we're kind of like paying on top of all the things we're trying to still pay for?
Okay, and yeah, and remember now, we will go out and see how much we spent on line breaks last month or this fiscal year to date, but just know that that is not on top. That's their job. That's, we have a line maintenance division, that's their job, is to fix the lines that break.
Do you think
But-
some of those went to outside
And
contractors?
some of them go to outside contractors, some of them have to go to outside contractors because that we don't have the equipment to go to certain depths and shore up the sides of
And
the trench.
these
and
are
all
old
that.
lines, right, that need to be replaced? These aren't new ones that are breaking?
Sometimes they're new. It kind of depends, and I don't know if Chris Manning or anybody is here, but it has to do with the soil conditions where the line is. For the most part, it is ductile iron pipe that has to be replaced, and that's older. But in some cases, you had a line that was not properly installed or was just installed in what they call hot soil that just corrodes the line really quickly. And so you might have to replace a line that's only 10 or 15 years old. Usually, the lines that have to be replaced are 50 years old.
Thank you.
Other thoughts or questions?
No, sir.
Let's go. Thank you.
Jimmy, you want, am I supposed to keep this? Yes.
You're supposed to laminate it and keep it above
Literally,
your bed.
just the type of lamp, man, it makes my eyes
Supposed to keep
zigzag looking at it.
every document you receive on council.
Hey,
you put
believe
it-
me, it's stacked to the.
Then you put it in
ceiling.
boxes and put it in storage.